Hey everyone, and welcome to another webinar by Royal Cyber. My name is Mir Mustafa Ali Pasha. I will be your host and one of the speakers for today. Now, some ground rules for a smooth experience before we begin. If you have trouble seeing my screen or hearing me, please notify in the chat window located on the right side of the screen. You can post your questions and comments in the chat box anytime during the presentation. There will be a dedicated slot for Q&A towards the end of the presentation where you will have an opportunity to ask questions and get responses. You can also post your questions or request for any follow-up information on the email ID shown here, which is info@royalcyber.com. Lastly, we would love to hear back from you about today's session by completing a short survey which will be shared towards the end. Okay, in the next 45 minutes, we will discuss how to achieve next level API intelligence using MuleSoft's Anypoint platform and the latest AI technology. Oh, that's me on the left side. I manage the middleware and integration practice at Royal Cyber, focused on helping our customers get the best ROI on their digital transformation journey. On the right side is my colleague, Mr. Haider Raza, who is certified MuleSoft solutions architect at Royal Cyber. He has extensive experience in building, designing, and implementing MuleSoft projects for a lot of customers across the globe. All right, so we have an exciting agenda for today. We will discuss the latest buzzwords such as generative AI, large language models, and how integrating them into the MuleSoft Anypoint platform will provide the desired results. We will showcase a demo on how to make best use of the generative AI technologies such as ChatGPT, Llama 2, with MuleSoft. We will also see the benefits of AI-led integrations and open the forum for Q&A. There's also an exclusive offer for those attending today's webinar, which I'll discuss towards the tail end. So stay tuned until then. But first, a quick introduction about Royal Cyber and who we are. So Royal Cyber is a mid-sized, fast-growing IT consulting and digital transformation company specializing in services, solutions, and software. We have more than 2,000 consultants across the globe. Our headquarters is in Naperville, Illinois, USA, and we have global presence as well, with offices in Canada, Middle East, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. We do have a couple of offshore development centers in the Asia. Our strategic partnership with a lot of technology companies on the globe, such as MuleSoft, Salesforce, Amazon, Microsoft, etc., coupled with business agility and follow the sun delivery model, makes Royal Cyber an obvious choice for a lot of our customers across the globe. All right, let's get into the topic. I would like to know how many of you have heard about this term generative AI. Just type yes or no in the chat. Okay, I see some response in the chat. It's a mix of yes and no. That's good. And for those who have typed yes, I would like to know, what are you using it for? And do you have any use case in mind where you might need some help? All right, without further ado, let's get into what is generative AI. So that is one of the most discussed topics of this year. Its popularity has exploded in 2023, largely thanks to the likes of OpenAI's ChatGPT and DALL-E and Bard from Google. Right, so it's the technology world's new superstar now, grabbing the attention of a lot of big companies, tech gurus, and the general public as well. So what exactly is generative AI? Let's find out. So generative AI, a short form for generative artificial intelligence, refers to a subset of AI that is capable of generating new content such as images, text, audio, video, etc. It uses algorithms and what's called as large language models to analyze and understand existing data, learn patterns and relationships from it to create a new content. So with Gen AI, you can prompt the AI, for instance, with a specific input, and it will generate a response or an output based on that input. Now, generative AI models are increasingly being incorporated into online tools and chatbots that allow users to type questions or instructions into an input field, upon which the model will generate a human-like response. So So there are a variety of Gen AI tools out there. These models typically rely on a user, as I said, feeding an input, a prompt that guides the model towards producing a desired output. It could be a text, an image, a video, or a piece of music as well. Now, some of the popular AI models we have seen today is a ChatGPT, an AI language model from OpenAI, which can answer your questions and generate human-like responses from text prompts only. DAL-E 2, another AI model by OpenAPI, which can create images and artwork from text prompts, which is excellent. Google's Bard is a competition to ChatGPT from Google. It's trained on the PaLM large language model. It can answer questions and generate text from prompt just like ChatGPT. Midjourney was developed by San Francisco-based research lab called Midjourney Inc. Now, this generative AI model interprets text prompts to produce images and artwork very similar to what DALL-E 2 can do. GitHub Copilot from Microsoft is another large language model, an AI-powered coding solution that suggests code completions within Visual Studio, NeoVim, and JetBrains development environment. Finally, Llama 2 is Meta's open source large language model, which is useful for creating conversational AI models for chatbots and virtual assistants, very similar to what GPT-4 can do. But the beauty is that you can run this securely within your own private cloud. Now, here's a quick look at some of the top trending language models. The proliferation started in 2020 with GPT-3. However, in 2023, if you look at that, there are tons of players in this area. So before we go further, it helps to understand what is a large language model, right? So by definition, large language models output words by generating text based on statistical patterns learned from a large corpus of human written text. Now, these patterns allow the model to predict what words are most likely to come next given a particular context, which is determined by the preceding words in the text. So the model essentially then selects the most likely word to generate as the next word in the sequence, and then it repeats the whole process, generating text one word at a time. So essentially, what is produced by these large language models are not really facts. Okay, which is very important. So this slide shows the rapid adoption of AI by the tech industry. For instance, it took almost 10 years for someone like Netflix to reach 100 million users, right? Whereas it took just about a month for ChatGPT to achieve the same number. Okay, so that's about introduction to generative AI and large language models. But I want to really delve into how can we take advantage of these popular AI models when it comes to MuleSoft's Anypoint platform, our favorite platform for creating integrations and APIs, right? So let's talk about that. So there are different phases an API has to go through when from design to deployment to production, right? And I think generative AI technologies can be useful in most of these stages if used properly. So for instance, your API design time can be significantly improved by using ChatGPT to generate API specifications based on instructions input as a prompt. Now we will show how to do this in demo today anyway, right? The next area is API development. You could automate and accelerate API implementations using this technology. Um, let's say you want to create a system API to update an incoming payload to a database table, right? And you can generate this code by passing this instruction on the ChatGPT prompt, and you can fine-tune the output to make the required changes and make it work, right? Instead of having to build the whole thing from the scratch. Similarly, you can also use ChatGPT to generate a data view code required to do a specific data mapping or transformation. So auto generation of your business logic, right? And you can also call, for instance, ChatGPT API as part of your error handling framework to always return an intelligent, human-friendly error messages back to the calling program system. You can perform intelligent rapid troubleshooting and improve your turnaround time by letting your large language models like ChatGPT analyze the API logs and infer the issues. This will help you identify the root cause and resolve issues much quicker and more proactively. You can quickly auto-generate test cases and API documentations by allowing large language models like Llama 2 to interpret the code and generate the desired results. Now let's put generative AI in action and see how we can leverage them using MuleSoft. So in this demonstration, we will show you three scenarios. Number one, how to use generative AI with MuleSoft, how to use ChatGPT, for instance, with MuleSoft Anypoint platform to automate and accelerate API design, development, data transformations, and return a user-friendly error message when something fails. Second, we'll show you how to integrate MuleSoft and ChatGPT to generate a summary of a meeting recording and action items as well using the APIs developed in MuleSoft Anypoint platform. Finally, we'll also show you how to use private large language models using APIs and manage them using MuleSoft's Anypoint Flex Gateway. So this demonstration will be done by my colleague, Mr. Haider Raza. Haider, over to you.
Hi everyone. Let's get started with our first demo, where we have created a MuleSoft ChatGPT system API that can help in integration and API development aspects. The system API is specific to OpenAPI's ChatGPT, but we can also have similar ones for other vendors like Bard, Llama, and Midjourney, etc. The system API can help us control access to the AI capabilities by enforcing built-in policies like authentication, authorization, logging, SLAs, and rate limiting at a granular level. And it will also provide us other API management features like monitoring and analytics. So if we go to our studio, so this is our ChatGPT system API. We have a couple of flows in this API. We'll use Postman to interact and test this API. So the very first scenario that we are going to test is a REML design issue. So we will go to our Anypoint Design Center. We have a REML over here. This is a valid REML at the moment. We will introduce a couple of errors in this one. So now this is an invalid REML. We will copy this one. And this is our input file where we are saying I am having an error in REML. Can you please help fix it for me? So we will copy that incorrect REML over here. Save this one. Go to Postman. Open the ChatGPT attachment endpoint. So this is one of the flows we have in our system API. And basically, we can provide our REML file over here. We are providing like client ID, client secret. We can specify the model that we want to use and other model related parameters over here. And let's test this. So here's the corrected REML. Let's try to validate this one. So it has provided a couple of description as well, like what changes it has made. So we can see like it's a valid REML. So the second scenario that we are going to see is an installation issue. So this is our input where we have tried to install Anypoint Studio. So we are saying that we installed Java, and then we have installed Anypoint Studio. And when we try to open the studio, we get this error. And the error says that the details are logged in this file. So let's provide this input to ChatGPT. So we can see that like it has provided us steps to troubleshoot this issue. So this is good enough help from ChatGPT to fix the issue. The third scenario we are going to see is our data weave development issue. So we have a query that basically we have a MuleSoft payload with five fields, and we want to use data weave, and we require only 2 fields in output. How can I achieve that? So let's. So this is the recommendation from ChatGPT. Let's validate this one. Let's go to our data weave playground to test this one. Paste the recommended data weave snippet over here. And for input JSON, we basically have Postgre database. It has records, and we also have a system API for this Postgre database. So we can call this API to get the payload, which we will use to test this database script. So for example, we are interested in last name, and for example, company. So we can see that like this script works perfectly fine, and we only have like 2 fields in the output for each report. So the last scenario that we have is for flow generation. So basically, we are asking it that, can you please provide me a MuleSoft listener flow that accepts a payload and inserts data into database using Mule4 batch processing. So this is like a bit average complexity task, like batch processing is not that simple. So we have already executed this query, and we have received a response. Let's copy this whole XML for the Mule flow. It's also providing some guidance, like what we need to configure to run this flow properly. Let's go to our studio. Create a new Okay, fine. So we can see like perfectly fine that it seems like it has generated a good skeleton. So this one is our database connector that we need to configure. So, but the skeleton looks amazing. So these demos give us a sense that how generative AI or ChatGPT can be used for API development. As the simple system API we just demoed can be invoked as a building block in a complete generative AI system that helps build partial to complete Mule APIs. Remember, MuleSoft also offers RPA capabilities, And incorporating that as well can help us create unique, intelligent solutions. So it seems we are moving to a future where we can expect to dream and build with ease and pace. And this will provide us a good amount of features, like it can incorporate best practices, it will take less time, it can provide us more insights, it will be less error prone, and it can provide a standard code. Because for example, if we have 12 developers, like everyone will have its own development style. But if we uh, use generative AI technologies, we can enforce a standard development procedures. And also we can see that like these the model that were using in this demo was ChatGPT, which is not tuned for code generation. Still, like it provided good amount of useful inputs for our API development.
So with this, we will move to our next section, which is Mule integration scenario. So let's discuss this scenario. Suppose you had a meeting and someone else missed to attend that, or you were busy and you couldn't attend a meeting, but you want to get a summary. So what are the options? Like for example, the meeting was recorded in MS Teams. So from Microsoft Teams, you can get the transcript and or you can view the full 41 minutes recording, or you can download this document, which is, for example, like a big file, like it's a like 29 pages file, and you then can read the whole transcript, like what was happening. So will not it be better that you get a summary of conversation, like what was the attendees list, what were the action items, and even what was the tone of the meeting, etc. So this is where integration, APIs, and generative AI can help. So you can subscribe to Azure events for MS Teams. So basically what we can do, um, we can have integration flow, and then we can, the overall logic can be that we can subscribe in Azure portal that we are interested in, for example, uh, uh, whatever like Teams related events. For example, whenever a recording or a meeting finishes, I am interested to subscribe to the transcript. So it will automatically like uh, so we can subscribe using the graph REST APIs provided by Azure. We can subscribe to them, and then automatically we will get the events whenever a meeting ends and a meeting transcript is available for download. So let's see what will be the steps. So the first step will be like we will subscribe to event, we will get event, we will load the um, file of transcript, and then we will send that whole session text transcript to OpenAI for summarization, and afterwards we can take any appropriate action. So let's see the mule flow that we have. Is go to this flow. So here, like we are using, we have a listener. We are testing it through Postman. We will send it a transcript of our meeting, the same transcript that we are seeing in the document. And then this will use an open AI summarization API to summarize the whole session. So we can use request HTTP node, or we can use the available Open API connector in MuleSoft. So we have demoed both. Like here, like we are using our simple REST connector. We have specified our token, etc. over here. and the payload is in a correct format as required by the API. We are taking the input and we are passing this to ChatGPT. We are using the free ChatGPT 3.5 model for summarization. And and then in case of any errors, instead of sending a technical error to the user, what we are doing, we are again using ChatGPT. We are sending it uh, the error that we got, and then we will send it to um, ChatGPT, and we'll ask it to summarize it for us in a friendly, human-friendly text. So let's try this demo. Um, so first of all, I have copied all the transcript over here, and I'm going to send it to ChatGPT to the MuleFlow. So if we see, by the way, this session was a bit technical. What actually happened, like there was a production issue, and we found that there was no alert for this particular API. So we wanted to set up an alert for this API in Anypoint monitoring, and also like we needed to review what all alerts have been set up there. So this is like a technical session of like 40 minutes, and um, we can see like how easily we can get a summary of what happened in the meeting. The conversation seems to be discussing monitoring and adding alerts for different applications. They mentioned searching for specific alerts related to CPU, memory, and worker performance. They also mentioned to need to add missing applications to the monitoring system. The conversation ends with a discussion about setting up alert notification and determining which alerts should be considered important. So like if someone is interested to view the whole recording, then he can just first read the whole summary, and then if he's interested, he can continue to watch the whole recording. Otherwise, he already has the gist of what happened. So let's try our error scenario as well. We will incorporate a special wrong corrector in the input, and then we will try our failure scenario where we are using the ChatGPT connector to interact with OpenAPI. So in this scenario, we can see uh, uh, we are getting an human-friendly text. The error in MuleSoft flow occurred because there was syntax error in the JSON payload. Specifically, the error was caused by an invalid $sign at the expected characters at this position were false, and so on. So like we got a friendly, human-friendly error description instead of some technical stack trace error. So so far so good. Um, so this was our flow, and we just returned the response to the caller. But the world of integration is interesting, and we can do anything. Like we can send an email, or we can put a message on Slack, or even we can send this summary of the transcript back onto the same Teams channel. With this, we'll move to our last session, which is related to Flex gateways. Um, so basically, let's first go to this slide. So we know that MuleSoft is not only for the APIs that are developed in MuleSoft. The solution provided by MuleSoft is called Universal API Management, and it can provide support for API management for all your needs. So let's see, for example, in terms of discovery, you can easily discover what APIs are available across your organization, and even publish those APIs for external world, and then monetize your APIs. You can govern the APIs, which means that you can improve organization quality by helping um, by helping you identify and resolve conformance issues against, for example, OWASP API security and Open API best practices. Manage, you can deploy your APIs anywhere in MuleSoft provided Cloud Hub or in on-prem runtimes, in runtime fabric, Kubernetes-based solutions, in any public cloud, or even to Flex gateways. So let's see why Flex gateways are more relevant here. So a lot of data science and AI applications use frameworks written in Python. So why we need these frameworks? For a number of reasons. First of all, we don't want to transfer data at all to internet. So we have some compliance or we have some confidential or client data that we cannot share publicly on the internet or to these public LLMs. And in that case, we may be running a private LLM. Like, for example, we can run Meta Llama LLM locally. Second, we want to fine tune our model for a specific task. So these LLMs, for example, OpenAPI is a generic model. But for example, if we want to, we have a specific use case. For example, we want code generation for MuleSoft, and we want to train and fine tune our model locally. So in that case, we will not be using a public generic model, but we will have our own fine-tuned model running locally. And third, there may be cost or licensing issues which restrict the number of calls or data that we can send for analysis, or we don't want to send all data, but only query specific data to public LLM to achieve tasks like semantic similarity, text classification, clustering, and visualization. So in that case as well, we will only send query-specific data to public LLM instead of sending all the data to public LLM. So in such case, we use a concept of embeddings and use vector databases where we load our internal documents or data and then we run client queries against that database, get only relevant and similar data and send it to LLM, which then uses natural language processing techniques to return a human-friendly response. So for all of these, we have good support from Python frameworks. So in this demo as well, we are using a popular framework released recently called LangChain and to interact with our private and public LLMs in the next demos. So this is the overall architecture that we have. Like we have endpoint platform, we have API manager over there, we have API governance over there, and then we have our Flex gateway, which can run on a Docker or on a Linux machine or a Ingress or as Ingress for a Kubernetes cluster. And this Flex gateway can support APIs which are written in any language, whether they are like .NET, Java, Python, or Node.js. And then we have this Python framework over here, which can interact with a public LLM like OpenAPI or a locally running private LLM like Meta Llama. So what is happening here in our scenario is that in this flow, we can see we don't want to expose our APIs to everyone. So we have some services in Python and we don't want to expose them to everyone. So we want to enforce governance and we also want to reap all the benefits of an API management platform. So we expose our Python implementation as APIs and apply API policies. So these Python modules are exposed as web services, and then we register these web services as implementation URLs in our Flex Gateway APIs. And so like then external consumers, or even, for example, the interface that we are going to see in the demo, we will be calling this Flex Gateway URL. And this Flex Gateway will enforce all policies like the rate limiting, authentication, logging, header injection, removal, etc. And then it will forward if the request conforms to the API policies, only then it will forward it to our Python framework, which is in case LangChain in this case. And then the framework can interact with LLMs. So for our first demo scenario, let's go to our interface. We have this interface in Chainlit, and we have different demos over here. Let's select the database demo first of all. So this LangChain Python framework supports connecting directly to databases, SQL and non-SQL databases, but because we have already a Mule service, so we will use that instead. So we saw that like we have this Postgre database and we have a Mule web service. So we have this Mule system API for this database. And I have some steps specifically written for this one. So we have a database, and then we already have a Mule system API for PostgreSQL. And then we have LangChain module. This module will first of all call this Mule system API to get database data. It will convert the retrieved JSON data to a pandas data frame, and then it will create and populate the embedding database with all this data that is retrieved from the database. And after that, we expose this LangChain module for database as a API, which is registered as Flex Gateway implementation URL. Next, the client will run queries against this Flex Gateway consumer URL endpoint. And then API policies will be enforced on in Gateway, and then the request will be forwarded to the LangChain module, which will receive the query, and it will run the query that it received again against its embedding database. It will search relevant, it will pick relevant records from the database, and then it will, from the database, I mean the vector database. And then it will send that relevant data only to Open API, and then we will get a human-friendly reply back. So let's see this from this. So we are using the database demo, and we can see, like, for example, we have certain fields over here, like we have, so we can say like who is from this state. So it says like these are the people from NC state. So this is useful, right? So instead of so this is a small database, but like, for example, we can have a huge database, and then we can run our queries on that database easily without knowing any SQL syntax or something, and we get like human friendly. Let's run our second query, and we can see that, like, let's see like who is from this state. So it says like Ronald is from IL state. So we can check like, yeah, this is Ronald over here, and so on. We can also view, for example, analytics in, let's go to AI Manager. And for our Flex Gateway, let's see what's happening with respect to the APIs. So our database API. Let me, yeah, it's fine. I think last hour. So we can see, like, for example, one request was sent. We can get a count of total policy violations, total errors over time, average response time, etc. So we can get usual stats from for the REST gateway for each API. Let's move to our second scenario, which is related to statement. So we have a bank statement. So we have a simple Excel file. So this can be a CSV or Excel file, and it shows like a debit credit history for a user for a year. And now we can run certain queries against this one. So for example, we can say how much ATM amount was detected. So this says like 2000 debit in January and 3000 credit in August. So we can verify like 2000 in debit in January and 3000 credit in August. And for example, we can run some other query like is there any ATM expense? Yeah, there are two ATM expenses. One was debit and so on. So this was using a CSV file, and the earlier one was a database. This is a CSV file, and the third and the last one is a PDF file. So let me show you this. This is a PDF file, and the question that we are going to ask is like, we will ask something related to this dependent life insurance, and this is 64 pages PDF for example, for a certain insurance policy. So the earlier two examples that we saw, like database and CSV file, they were using the public open AI LLM system. This particular service for policies, for example, if we don't want to send our data uh, to internet, so we are running a local Meta Llama LLM on our local PC, and this query will go to our local LLM. So is there any entitlement for life insurance for dependents? So this is a cached response, but obviously like the response of the local LLM will be, we can take time depending upon the data that is available in the database, and also on the hardware specs that you are using to run the model. So it provides us a source as well as a summary um, like from the document, like yes, according to Article 2 of the context, dependents are eligible to purchase individual policy of life insurance under the terms of the group policy. Additionally, if our dependent dies while insured for dependent life insurance under this group policy, the dependent beneficiary is entitled to a death to benefits. And then it provides the source as well. So these were some demos. Hopefully, like these were interesting, and we look forward to your queries and integrating more and more intelligence for your APIs. Thank you.
Thank you, Haider. Now let's look at some of the benefits of this AI-led integration. The first benefit is automation, right? So AI-led integrations can automatically build your integrations, your APIs that would otherwise require significant manual intervention. If not automatic, at least semi-automatic. So the effort is saved significantly. Number two, you could use that in fraud detection. For instance, the combination of models like ChatGPT and MuleSoft allows for real-time analysis of text-based data and transaction data, enabling organizations like yourself to detect and prevent fraud as it happens. You could also get enhanced decision making by analyzing large volumes of data quickly and accurately. AI-driven integrations provide insights that can inform better decision making. Now, this data-driven approach helps businesses as well identify trends, patterns, opportunities that might otherwise get unnoticed. Personalizations. AI-led integrations enable personalized experience for customers. By analyzing user behavior and preferences, businesses can deliver tailored content, product recommendations, and services that cater to individual needs. Customer services, AI powered chatbots, and virtual assistants integrated into customer service systems using MuleSoft's Anypoint platform can provide instant responses and solutions around the clock. This leads to faster query resolution and enhanced overall customer experience. Efficient resource allocation. What does this mean, right? So AI-led integrations optimize resource allocation by predicting demand, streamlining your supply chains, and minimizing wastage. Now, this leads to cost savings and improved resource utilization. Predictive analytics. AI-driven integrations can forecast future trends and outcomes based on historical data. Now, this predictive capability helps businesses anticipate market shifts, customer preferences, and potential risks. Finally, data management, right? So AI-led integrations help manage and organize large data sets efficiently. This is especially crucial in industries like healthcare, fintech, research, where data accuracy and security are paramount. So the moment is here. I'm presenting to you an exclusive offer which you can carry as a takeaway from today's webinar. There are two offers on this slide. One is the assessment and another is the Jumpstart package. The assessment is a complimentary, no strings attached offer to help you where you need help. For instance, it includes identifying a use case and a scoping for that use case in terms of where you're struggling or you need help with, reviewing your existing landscape, for instance, your MuleSoft Anypoint platform landscape and how you are using it, and show you how to achieve significant cost savings and secure your API assets in a better fashion. As a deliverable, you would get a report of proposed solution or ideas to the identified use cases, projected ROI, implementation plan, and cost. The Jumpstart is an extension to that, where we actually implement the use case identified during the assessment phase for you and showcase how it works. This may take anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks or even lesser, depending on the complexity of the use case, and hence would incur some cost, right? But the cost is heavily discounted for those who are attending today's webinar. So what are you waiting for? If you want to join the AI revolution and stay in the competition, take advantage of this offer and join hands with Royal Cyber to quickly achieve your goals. Okay, it's time for some Q&A. If anybody's interested in asking questions over the mic, do let us know in the chat. Thank you all. I know it doesn't end here, but should you have any more questions or need additional information, you can always reach us at info@royalcyber.com or call us on the number provided on the screen. Thanks again and see you in another exciting webinar. Until then, take care.